Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all really well. First of all, I just wanted to say a huge thank you for all your lovely comments on our Disney trip announcement that we put out last Thursday. If you haven't seen the video, I'll pop it in the description box below, but myself and Martyn are off to Disneyland Paris in November and we are so excited. And it sounds like a lot of you are going around that time as well, so we may bump into a few of you, which is just so exciting. So today was the day that our Cruise Diaries vlog series was meant to start, but unfortunately Martyn's had trouble with Wi-Fi on board and he hasn't been able to get up the first vlog because it's on his laptop. So unfortunately that won't be starting this week, but it will start in just 2 weeks' time because that's when he's back. So I thought today I would film a video that I've wanted to film for so long, and it's kind of to do with travel, and it is my top 10 tips for flying anxiety and a fear of flying. So I've had a fear of flying, I would say, for about 10 years. It's got slightly better over the past couple of years, but it is still, I still get really nervous, and I've had good flights and I've had really bad flights, anxiety wise. I know that this is a really common fear, and if some of these tips can help just one of you out there, then I'd be really happy. It's taken me a long time to find things that work for me and that give me the opportunity to be able to fly comfortably. I'm not 100% there yet. I still get very nervous, and as I said, some flights are better than others, but for the past 5 flights I'd say I haven't panicked, which is huge for me. I've had flights where I have had panic attacks and I have been crying, and it's just not very pleasant, and it puts a dampener on holidays and travel, which is just one of my favourite things to do. So I've always wanted to overcome the fear of flying, and I think slowly, by taking a few steps, I am slowly but surely getting there. I'm not an expert in any way, so if your fear of flying is affecting you really badly and it is stopping you from travelling or going on holiday and doing things that you want to do, I would highly recommend that you speak to a professional. There are so many people out there that can help you with anxiety and with fears. If you speak to a therapist, they are professionally trained to help you overcome your fears. There are also 2 fear of flying courses that I personally haven't been on, but I have been looking into going on. I think one is with BA and one is with EasyJet, so I will pop them in the description box below, and these are courses that have been designed by professionals to help you overcome your fear of flying as well. So I actually feel a little bit nervous filming this, and I don't know why, but I think talking about your fears or your anxieties can be quite a weird thing to open up about, but I think if we all help each other and realise that they are quite common and we can help each other, then that would be great. So I have a few tips for before you board the flight, and then tips for when you are actually flying. So tip number 1 is to watch a fear of flying video on YouTube. I think this video is done by Virgin, and I will pop it in the description box, but it is a great video. The video explains all about the noises that you hear as soon as you board a plane, and this really helped me because I think taking off and landing are the massive triggers for me, and hearing all these loud noises would really make me very anxious. And I think from watching the video, they go through each noise and they explain exactly what they are, and that just gives you that sense of control because you know that that noise isn't anything to worry about, and you know exactly what that noise is, and that really helps me. So I think learning about the different noises that you do hear is a really good place to start in understanding how a plane works, which really does help with the fear of flying. So I'd highly recommend watching that before you board a flight. Tip number 2 is to plan your travel to the airport and to make it as stress-free as possible. You don't want to be rushing, you don't want to have a really stressful trip to the airport, a really stressful time at the airport because you're late or you're rushing, and then you get on the airplane and your emotions are already here, and then you get anxious because of the flight. And yeah, I've had that many a times. So what I do now is I really like to plan. I like to make sure that everything is ready the night before, so I'm not waking up and having to do last minute packing or anything that would stress me out. I know that I can wake up, everything's ready, leave enough time to get to the airport comfortably, spend a bit of time in the airport looking at duty free, and yeah, just a really nice relaxing environment before you board the plane. And tip number 3, which is the last tip to do before you board the plane, and that is to download comforting TV shows, comforting podcasts, comforting vlogs, anything that makes you feel at home and really comfortable. I know they have in-flight entertainment, which is great, and sometimes I love watching like the latest release or watching stuff I haven't watched before, but sometimes I just really want to watch something that makes me feel really cozy and comforted, and that might be your favourite film which you've seen millions and millions of times, or a Friends episode that you've watched like 10 times. But I think watching stuff that you know is going to make you comfortable is really good to have with you. And sometimes it's not enough to rely on what the plane will have. I really like knowing that I have stuff that will make me happy. I also really enjoy watching vlogs, because if there's a certain vlogger that you like, kind of gives me that feeling. I really love watching someone that I know, that I watch all the time. That really makes me feel comfortable. So tip number 4 is to think of the flight as part of your holiday, or as part of your travels if you're traveling for work. Or I used to always think of it as something that I needed to get through before I could start my holiday or start my travels, instead of thinking of it as part of it. And by thinking of it as part of the holiday really helps me. It helps me to try and look at it as something that I should be excited for and that I should look forward to instead of dreading. The feeling of excitement and the feeling of nerves are very similar, and I sometimes try and trick my brain into thinking that I'm excited and not nervous. Even though I am very nervous, I want to try and trick my brain into thinking that that is excitement for my holiday. So use the time on a plane as part of your holiday. Read that book that you've always wanted to read, or I know that a lot of people like to do like pamper routines, just something that you wouldn't really normally do in your day-to-day life, but something that you probably would take time for on holiday, because it is your holiday. You're not at work, and it's the start of that time that you've carved out for yourself to relax and have a good time. So as much as you can, and I know it is so difficult and I can't keep it up all the time, but I do try and have that thought in my head that this is a good thing. This is part of my holiday, and I'm going to try and enjoy it as much as I can. So tip number 5 is something called the 10-minute rule. And this was something that I found out about recently. I was watching Zoella's video on flying anxiety, which is a great video. She goes into so much depth, and I will pop her video below in the description box for anyone that wants to see her video as well. I'm sure you've already seen it, but so she spoke about the 10-minute rule, which is something that her therapist told her about. And the 10-minute rule means that every 10 minutes you have to change what you're doing, and you have to be really strict about it. So you have to like set a timer. So for 10 minutes you're reading a book, and then the next 10 minutes you are chatting to a friend, the next 10 minutes you're watching a TV show, the next 10 minutes you're going to watch a vlog that you downloaded, the next 10 minutes you're going to have a drink. But you have to be really strict. And I did this for the past 3 flights, and it really helped me. Obviously if it's a long haul flight you can't keep it up for the whole time because it would get a bit tiring, but for the periods where you feel really anxious, which for me is taking off and landing, it really helped to distract my brain. My brain will start to think of worst case scenarios, and it will start to get anxious when it has time to. So if I try and make sure that my brain doesn't have time to think, it really helps me. So I set a timer on my phone, and I did do different things each 10 minutes, and I noticed that it did keep my brain distracted, and it really helped me to relax without thinking about it. I would highly recommend this tip to try out, because I was a bit skeptical at first, but it really did help. And then any time during the flight where you start to feel anxious again and your brain starts to wander off into a bad space, you can bring it back by starting the 10-minute rule again. Next is tip 6, and this is to download podcasts. Now, I've kind of touched on this in a few other tips, but personally I find podcasts really comforting. I think it has something to do with hearing the sound of someone's voice. I find it very calming. I'll link a few of my favourite podcasts down below, but there's a podcast for absolutely anyone, and if you haven't listened to a podcast yet, I would highly recommend giving one a go, because I wasn't really sure at first whether I would get into podcasts, but I really have. They're really easy and they're all free, and you can download them onto your phone, and it's just kind of another way of entertaining yourself on a flight. If you get bored of the films or the TV that they've got on there, having a podcast, because you can close your eyes as well and you can literally just listen to the sound of someone's voice. And I think they're a great way to stay calm and focus your brain on something. I get travel anxiety, so I also get anxious on trains and tubes, and I use podcasts a lot on them to keep my brain active and to stop it from wandering into a bad place. So my tip number 7 is to take your shoes off, which is a bit of a random tip, but I find this helps so much. If I keep my shoes on, I feel quite like tense and a bit on edge, whereas if I take my shoes off, I suddenly feel like, you know, I'm at home, I'm grounded. I always like pack really comfy fluffy socks. I also pack flight socks as well, because they're important to wear. But yeah, I just like having comfy socks on and no shoes. I think it just makes me feel more at home and not on edge. It might not work for everyone, but give it a try and see how you feel, because it does really help me to relax. So tip number 8 is to plan your holiday. You've probably already done this before you go on holiday, but I like to either replan or rethink about what I'm going to do when I arrive at the destination. It keeps me thinking positively, and also I love planning, so it brings me a lot of joy to plan maybe what I'm going to do that evening, or plan the first day of our holiday. And it doesn't really matter if you don't stick to the plans, because it's kind of just the physical act of planning it that helps me to relax. And again, it focuses my mind on something positive, something happy, and you know, the destination that I'm traveling to, which is so exciting. So I did this a lot with Disney World. I would watch Disney World vlogs, and then I would, you know, really plan like exactly what I was gonna do. And I mean, I didn't end up sticking to the plan, but it was really exciting to think thoroughly about the exciting things that I was planning to do once I arrived. So tip number 9 is to pack some adult colouring books and pens and pencils with you on board the plane. I wasn't really sure if this was something that I was going to get into, because I obviously hadn't done colouring since I was a child, but it really is relaxing, and it's a form of like mindfulness, because you fully are in the present when you're colouring. And I think it's the physical act of colouring in that really does relax you. And I know they've become quite a big thing at the moment, and you can get colouring books of anything. Like, it doesn't have to just be like flowers, even though they are like really beautiful, all those colouring books, but you can get, I've got like a Harry Potter one, I've got a sloth one. There's so many different ones that you can get. And I actually found colouring in to be probably the most effective to calm me down when I was starting to panic. As soon as we like hit turbulence or anything like that, and I feel my heart rate starting and I feel my breathing getting shorter, I just reached for my colouring book, and I think it was the physical action that really helped calm my brain down. And it's probably something now that I wouldn't be able to get on a flight without. I always make sure that I have a colouring book and colouring pencils, because I just know how much it calms me down. So if you haven't tried adult colouring before, I would highly recommend it. And also for everyday life, everyday stresses, if you just take 10 minutes out of your day and just focus on that and nothing else, it really does slow down your brain and helps you to find a bit of peace in this very stressful world. And my last tip, tip number 10, is probably the most important tip, and that is meditation and breathing. So meditation and breathing are probably the best ways to combat anxiety of any form. If you start to feel yourself becoming anxious on a flight, meditating is a great way to try and combat those feelings. I will pop in the description box below my 2 favourite apps, which are Headspace and Calm, and they're great as they lead you through guided meditations. And even if you think that meditating isn't for you, I would highly recommend that you do give it a go and you do stick at it. And it doesn't really matter if you don't think you're not good at it, or there's no right or wrong with meditation. Just the act of doing it will help you. I'm still not there yet, and I'm still not great at it. I wish that I could do it every day, but you know, just try and do it as much as you can and you will really feel the benefits. My mum actually sent me a great audiobook which is called Flying with Confidence, a guided relaxation, which is written and read by Patricia Furness-Smith, and it is a British Airways audiobook. And this was great. It leads you through different meditations, and they have a really good one at the end which takes you on a meditation from when you get up in the morning, your travel to the airport, being on the plane and hearing all those noises, and then arriving at your destination. So it's a really good audiobook to keep on your phone, and if you start to feel really anxious during a flight, just pop the headphones in, close your eyes and just listen to her voice, and she will guide you through a meditation that will really help to calm you down. So I'll pop that audiobook in the description box below. But again, spending a bit of time on your breathing and on meditation can really help to combat those fears and combat those anxious feelings that you have. And that's my 10 tips. I hope they were helpful, and I hope maybe even just one tip might be something that you hadn't thought of before. I think sometimes it's just nice to hear that you're not alone if you do suffer with a fear or anxiety, and it's just nice to talk things through, really. If you yourself have any tips on combating the fear of flying, please pop them down in the comments below, because as I said, I'm not 100% there yet. I still get really nervous. So if you have any tips for me and for everyone else watching this video, please put them in the comments, because then we can all read them and then take away more tips, because I think the more options and tips you have, the higher it is that you are going to be able to overcome your fear. So yeah, I hope this was helpful, and I wish you all safe travels in the future. Our next vlog will be a Disney World vlog, which will be on Monday at 4 p.m. And thanks so much for all your lovely comments always, and all your support. And Martyn is back so soon, so I'm really excited, because we've got our cruise diaries vlog starting, and then we're gonna vlog so much when he's home over autumn and winter and Christmas. So there's lots to look forward to. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in our next one. Bye!